Hello, my name's Paul Henderson, and I thought I'd do a session today on how to become a counsellor. It's a very commonly asked question. What do we need to do if we want to become a recognised, perhaps professional counsellor? So let's have a look at this today. First of all, let's make it clear that there's no legislation or governmental legislation that we have to abide by to become a counsellor. Counselling is self-regulatory, and there are certain professional bodies that have set up in order to marshal the quality of training, if you like. So first of all, what we need to look at is how do we know we're getting a good quality course, and what do we need, where do we need to start, at what level do we need to start to actually become a professional counsellor? Well, it's quite commonly assumed we have to start with a short course, an introductory course at level 2, and then we have to do a counselling skills course at level 3 before we can come onto what are known as the core units for counselling. The core units of counselling are often at level 4 or 5. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. Let's dig deeper into this now. So first of all, it's not necessary to do an introductory course at level 2. And it's not necessary to do a counselling skills course at level 3, but it's advised to do those things. But ultimately, your objective is to become a member of one of the big professional bodies that stamp their quality assurance on you as a counsellor. And the biggest one, and the one that most employees ask for today, is the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists. That's the BACP. The BACP's criteria for doing a course at level 4, level 5, the BACP's for core units, let's say, their criteria is that you do a 2-year part-time course or a 1-year full-time course. This course must also have a 100-hour supervised placement. That means that after the first year of your studies, you can go out and embark upon a placement. And this placement is where you do your training, quite frankly. You need to do 100 hours supervised training in order to become a professional counsellor. Okay, and the course must be at least 2 years part-time or 1 year full-time. The course must also be classroom-based. The British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists do not acknowledge online courses, so it's most important when you do your core units that you do it in a classroom-based course, like the one we do in Liverpool. And that's the criteria. Theoretically, you can go straight to level 4 or level 5, though it is advised perhaps to start at level 2 and do level 3. Most people tend to do a level 3 counselling skills course and then move on to level 4 or level 5. Quite often, level 4 and level 5 are quite similar. There might be a slight difference in the degree of difficulty from 4 to 5. It's quite often level 4 or level 5 where the core units of counselling are delivered. Okay, so what happens now? You find yourself a course. So perhaps you want to come straight onto our course. You can come straight onto our course at level 5. Our criteria is that it's not a prerequisite to have a level 3 counselling skills certificate for our course. You can come straight on at level 5, so long as you've had a reasonable education and perhaps some life experience that will give you insight into counselling. So, what happens? You embark on, let's say, a level 4, level 5 course, 2 years part-time. You do your 100 hours supervised counselling training, and then what happens? Well, there are different routes. Most people want to join the BACP when they finish, the professional body, the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists. Now, there are two routes. If you do a BACP accredited course, you can go straight into the BACP as a registered member, and you must ultimately become a registered member of the BACP. BACP accredited courses can be expensive. If you don't do a BACP accredited course, which many people don't, there are some fantastic courses out there accredited by other governing bodies, that's okay, you can still join the BACP. So what you do there is that when you've graduated from your course, you can become a member of the BACP right away, so long as your course fits the criteria for the BACP. Okay, let's say your course wasn't accredited by the BACP itself, which many are not, bear in mind. If this is the case, you join the BACP as a member, and then within the first 2 years of being a member, you have to do what's called a Certificate of Proficiency, a multiple choice test. And you do this online. And currently, at the time of recording this, there is no extra charge for that. And we've never had one student of ours ever fail the Certificate of Proficiency, incidentally. So it is accessible to do. Once you pass the Certificate of Proficiency, which is done on your computer, multiple choice, at home, then you become a registered member of the BACP. So there you go. That's ultimately what you have to do to become a counsellor. Right, so looking for courses. There are all different types of courses. You may want to start at level 3 to give you an introduction into it, and the level 3 courses are generally around 1 year part-time study. And these are normally called counselling skills, where you will learn the skills you need for counselling. Active listening skills, empathy, open-ended questions, closed questions, listening. These are all skills that you will learn when you're on the counselling skills course. And you'll also learn some basic psychological counselling theory, maybe to do with some of the counselling modalities such as cognitive behavioural therapy, psychodynamics, and so on. So once you've got your counselling skills certificate, you may then want to move on to the core units at level 4 or level 5. Or perhaps you want to start at level 5, as within our course, and come straight in and train over 2 years part-time as a professional counsellor. So what sort of modalities, therapeutic modalities they're called, these are the strands of psychology that you may want to study. Well, there's cognitive behavioural therapy, which is basically the interrelationship between how we think, how we act, and our feelings. Also our physiology. It's the interaction between them, basically how we think determines the way we feel, and our feelings drive our actions. And then our actions can also feed back into the system and determine how we think, and so on. That's cognitive behavioural therapy. There's then psychodynamics, let's say, and psychodynamics is that strand of psychology which says that childhood experience is influential in shaping our psychological development and also our relationships in adulthood. So that's psychodynamics, looking at the past. It's called psychic determinism, and how our experiences in the past shape us as human beings, and how that determines how we operate in the world today. And we'll just pick one last one. We look at transactional analysis, or TA. This is basically the study of how we communicate initially. Okay? And the transaction in transactional analysis is a unit of social intercourse. So, hello Paul, how are you doing today? That's a unit of social intercourse, and then that would invite a response. But transactional analysis goes deeper into that, and it looks at three what are called ego states. Independent of our chronological age, we all have within us a child, a parent, and an adult. We look at times that perhaps we will operate from these modes. So sometimes I might operate from the child mode and be submissive, and I might be manipulative. Sometimes I may operate from the parent mode and I might be critical, or I might be nurturing. And sometimes I'll operate in the adult mode, which is the logical analytical side of us. So they're three of the therapeutic modalities you might want to consider studying. In our level 5 course, which we hold, it's a classroom course over 2 years part-time, we hold in Liverpool. It is integrative counselling, and we do round about 15 different therapeutic modalities, because our mission statement is to promote diversity in the field of therapy. That's what we want to do, flexibility and diversity in the field of therapy. So that hopefully explains what you've got to do to become a professional counsellor. The other question I get asked, at the end of that 2 years training part-time and doing your 100 hours supervised training, are you then what we could call a professional counsellor? And the answer, thankfully, is yes. Obviously, you'll accumulate experience and you will evolve as an individual and as a counsellor over the years. But yes, once you've done that 2 years part-time study with your 100 hours supervised counselling training, then you are qualified to counsel. Just to end this short session, I'd just like to explain what's meant by supervision. Well, obviously, when you go into a counselling session, you yourself can be affected by the subjects that are being discussed. Okay? And when this happens, you should go and see what's known as a supervisor. And a supervisor is another qualified, normally very experienced counsellor, who will help you to resolve any issues that are coming up for you during the counselling session. This is what's known as personal supervision. So personal supervision comes from a very experienced counsellor who you'll go to, and they'll help you resolve perhaps any matters that are coming up for you as a result of your counselling with a client. The other type of supervision is casework supervision. And this may be where your supervisor helps you. Say you should get stuck, you're not too sure where to go with the client, then perhaps the supervisor will give you some advice, some pointers, some suggestions of how you might proceed with your clients. So that's supervision. If you have got any questions regarding how to become a professional counsellor, please feel free to email me. And do come and have a look at our website, which is https://ukait.com. Be nice to see you there. Thank you for listening.